church had no pope. The movement was without a supreme pastor. And while a lot of people were praying, a solitary monk in southern Italy, Peter, who lived in his cave and led an extremely austere life. In fact, he used a hammer to smash the bread that he would eat. And he was a man, he was a holy man. Well, he wrote a letter of warning to the cardinals who were charged with the duty of electing the Pope, and said, boys, get off the stick and elect the Pope, or your salvation is in jeopardy. You will go to hell. So they looked at this and they said, really? Maybe this is a sign, and so they elected him. And so the cardinals helped him build their way up the mountainside to his cave, and some of them had a harder time of it, living la dolce vita in Rome, and so they were a bit more. But to inform him that he had just been elected as the successor of Peter. He wasn't expecting it, he was overwhelmed by it, but he accepted it. And he reigned gloriously for a little over 100 days. At which point he realized that he was not qualified for the Petrine office. He couldn't handle the political wrangling and maneuvering. He just didn't know how to deal with it. And so he resigned. He was conscious of a very important thing, that in order to be good at the Petrine office, one has to be, of course, holy, which Peter was. But holiness by itself is not enough. You have to be knowledgeable in theology, which he probably was, although perhaps not. And you have to also have the knowledge of human nature and how things work in the politics of the church. You also have to have the physical ability to do this, stamina, health, etc. Now, he probably did have health. He was as tough as nails. Now, but when he resigned, his successor, in order to prevent him from reintroducing himself as an anti-pope, put him in jail, in prison, where he died not too long afterward. Now, being in a prison cell didn't seem to suit him too badly, because it wasn't much different than what he'd been living with before. Anyway, the point is this. Peter Celestine understood that he was not capable of fulfilling the duties of the Pope. Now, Pope Benedict is, without doubt, a great Pope. He is holy. Just listen to how many times he carps and gripes about people. Zero, none. He's extremely charitable, but he's very shrewd. He's knowledgeable to the point where if you think you can disagree with him and take him on in a theological debate, you've got your hands full, because he'll explain your position to you better than you can understand it, and then he'll chop to rip it. But in a very limited fashion. He's a man of great experience. He was a priest at the Vatican Council. And so he understands the council very well and is fought very valiant against those who would hijack it and deform it. And he's 86 years old. Now he has holiness, he has wisdom and knowledge, but he no longer has the health. And he, by his own admission, that has been deteriorating. Through his whole life, he never was a man of robust health anyway. And the fact that he's lived to this age is something of a wonder. So, he has decided to tender his resignation and release the reins of the church and hand it over to a new man. And so, his resignation will take effect on February 28th. A conclave will be called in, and they will elect a new pope. What that means for us is that we have something extra special to pray for this Lent and offer penances for. Benedict, I think, recognizes perhaps more than anybody else the challenge that faces the church, and it's a real war. He also realizes that he hasn't got the physical stamina to meet the demands of it, so he's got to hand it over to somebody younger and stronger. What you see in him is heroic humility. Some who have achieved the papal office hold on to it, or say it may hold on to them. Who's possessing what? And they have acquired it by means foul or fair, and regarded it as the supreme fulfillment of their earthly ambitions. Benedict is not one of them. So we have been blessed with the shepherding of a wonderful pastor, a great pope. And if I live to be the normal age, I may yet see him canonized. Who knows? But let's pray for him and give our thanks to God for him. And above all, pray for the conclave that will elect his successor. Because the cardinals will be called together. And the word conclaves means under lock. They will go into the Sistine Chapel to meet. They will have their own digs there to live in, but they will be under lock. Nobody will be allowed in or out, except of course for extreme health problems or death. And that they will be allowed no communication in the outside world. This is something that's been learned the hard way over time. Sometimes the various families who've been jockeying to have their candidate elected to the papacy exerted all kinds of interesting pressures. There was even one time where the Roman citizenry themselves pried the roof off of the conclave chamber and screamed at them to elect a Roman. So all kinds of interesting things have happened during the election of popes. So as wild as things are today, at least in those regards, it's a much more civilized proposition. All right. We're dealing with Article 12.